Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, a great big welcome to anybody who is new. So, if you saw yesterday's extended, I mentioned there had been a significant uptick in the fantasies and the dreams. And so, we're going to focus on that today. But I just have to laugh because I got all these notes from you afterwards that said like I didn't realize that many people even clicked on the extended for yesterday because I was kind of getting the notes after you guys were watching them and you were saying, "Hey, do one on the dreams. The dreams are relentless. The fantasies are relentless." And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at that, and it'll be a general reading for this collective, as it always is. Won't resonate with everybody, as it shouldn't resonate with everybody. But if it does resonate with you, maybe think about subscribing. Maybe think about looking at a couple of the other messages that that have come in here in some of the recent readings. So if there are any that you have missed, good messages in all of them. So this is interesting. We're going to go ahead and get that energetic and emotional backdrop for you. Although I will tell you, one lady would crack me up. She said, "Do you have any like inappropriate tarot cards for that?" To see like there's real fantasy, like lustful inappropriate fantasies. And I was like, oh, okay, you know what, here's the thing, I'm not doing that on YouTube. If you want that reading, I have those cards. Go to my Etsy shop and tell me that's what you're looking for, and I'll break them out. But I'm not doing that here on YouTube because it just doesn't seem appropriate for the rest of the viewers who are maybe not having that experience. But we have the Ten of Cups. So this is, this is, okay. There is nothing dreamier in the tarot than the Ten of Cups. This is the energy of something feeling like it's too good to be true. There's a little bit of the upright energy in this as well, but that's more historic. It's like there's this feeling of things feeling like they're a little too good to be true, and you just kind of, it's like a mirage. It's got the sense of that mirage. This is dreamy fantasy, sort of I'm not sure how awake I am kind of energy in that Ten of Cups. But it also, the way that we typically hear about it, we hear, you need to get a little bit closer to this so that you can figure out what you need to do, what action to take. And that's just an aside. It's not specifically coming off of this card today, but it comes off of it a lot. And it's part of the lesson that this collective has been learning. Same with your soulmates. But there is a real dreamy, just kind of full of fantasy sort of energy. We also have the Nine of Swords that's come out here. The Nine of Swords is a feeling of release. It's a feeling of not having to take everything into consideration. So like in a fantasy, if you build it, you can build it however you want. So it doesn't have to include all of the aspects or all of the complications of regular life. And so that's kind of what I get from that Nine of Swords. So this is this is the right day to do this reading. I mean, it started coming out in the extended yesterday, and then you guys were corroborating that. And I've been getting a lot of messages recently that, and I mentioned this, that talk about the dreams. So we got to figure out kind of what's happening with that and what you need to do, or what you're being guided to do. But just looking at the energy of kind of what's out there, it's nothing but agreeing with what we already know. The tough part about this, though, is that it has that tendency to throw you off balance. You're not given the liberty to have fantasy where you don't on some level realize how unlikely it's going to be. This is that edge that's there. Your person's feeling it pretty hardcore, and it's a very challenging thing for them because it used to be a release for them to have these fantasies, and now it just reminds them of what they don't have choices about. Something else that came out yesterday in that extended. So if we see the Six of Swords here in reverse, this is The fantasy element of things is actually starting to, they've taken too much solace in it, too much time there, maybe, to not necessarily like they shouldn't be doing it, just that there's a limitation to it, or a point at which it becomes detrimental to their ability to live their life the way that they need to live their life, or the responsibilities that they have. They feel like you would be disappointed in them with the Queen of Pentacles here. That's what really feels like it would come out. I don't get the sense that you are disappointed. That's a perception. So it's that perception kind of Queen of Pentacles where it's, you feel like there's something that, they feel guilty about it, and they feel like you would be judgy about it if you knew. We have the Princess of Pentacles that's come out here, and then a couple more. Let's see what we've got. Seven of Swords, Nine of Wands in the reverse. This is very much with the Seven of Swords, and that's that. Okay, so we've got the Princess of Pentacles. I'll break down what the messages are. We have the Princess of Pentacles, which kind of has that feeling of, it's a lesson that, it's one that you have seen, but maybe haven't had an opportunity to put into place. So I don't want to say it's a lesson that isn't learned, because that's not true. You're very much open to the learning. And that's something we even talked about in yesterday's reading, your openness to that. The reason that we have the you section in every one of these readings is because this collective is trying to solve their problems. They're trying to solve their issues, cycles that have been ongoing. Let's understand what's driving that, get to the bottom of it. So you've done some of that. You recognized, which that's quick. I said it yesterday. You recognize some of the progress that you've made here. And to some degree, your person does too. But it makes you more open to these lessons. And so that sort of putting yourself even more into it, that vibe, that's a beautiful thing. It is part of what is making your person feel that shame or that guilt, because maybe they feel like they're more jumping into the fantasy and not dealing with the situation, I guess, or not acknowledging they're feeling that edge a little bit more than what they want to. That edge of the Temperance card up there that says, this isn't realistic the way that this is happening. Fantasies aren't supposed to be realistic, but this is something they cannot get away with as easily. It's that truth we've seen coming through. So we have this Seven of Swords in the reverse. One of the things that they fantasize about is being able to trust and just knowing everything is going to be fine. That's one of those edges that comes out for them. But they also have a varying level based on what they've seen from you, but more importantly, what they've felt from you. They have a varying level of resistance against this tendency to trust you. And it has to do with the fears that are the same ones tied up in why they feel guilty about things, and why they feel like, even like you would be disappointed in them for taking solace in the fantasy. There's a sense that they understand that you wouldn't, but that's like an intellectual level. And then but there's this real, just raw fear that makes them still have that edge of resistance there. Whereas I feel in your energy, and this is current energy, so sometimes it's shared, sometimes it's heavy on you, sometimes it's heavy on them. If I can tell by the card which one it's more, then I'll say so. Again, like I felt like this was both of you, but this is heavier in your direction. With the Seven of Swords, though, this is really them. And the Nine of Wands, that's them. Same with the Queen of Pentacles and the Six of Swords. This whole little area is the quandary that they find themselves in today's energy. So there's, yes, a lot of fantasy, but the reactions to it are a little bit different. You may be experiencing an uptick in your fantasy and dream energy as well. I definitely have heard about the dreams. More of them. Some of them are incredibly realistic. You're sitting at a party, but it has that feeling of this is really important for some reason. It's the sort of dream that you remember and you wonder if maybe some element of that might have been shared. But then, you also have the other kinds of dreams where that was just nuts. Like that one, and that didn't have the same feeling of importance or anything like that. These are the dreams that are having that feeling of importance. There is a strong sense of So I love when the Three of Cups comes out like this, and I think for a lot of the times when I did personal readings back in the past, I would see the Three of Cups come out this way, and a lot of times even for this collective, but lately we've seen so much of this third party energy that is being associated with it. Not today. With this Three of Cups, this is all about the flow of emotion that is basically being enabled. So we saw yesterday at some point, and I can't remember if it was the YouTube reading or the extended, but we saw at some point that your person basically was overflowing, and their emotion was rising to a point that was uncomfortable for them, which that doesn't take very much, but it's going to happen a couple of times, and they're going to get to a place where they're sort of flooded. And this is that, but it's also their capacity, their emotional capacity was one of the things that came up yesterday. They still need to be able to do some thinking, and both of you have a decision to make, but this is more incidental, and I'm just going to go ahead and leave that there. I don't think it wants to be in this part of the reading, but them needing to go off and do some thinking is very, very real. They're able to see kind of the flaws in the way that they're thinking and feeling about things here with regard to the shame and, well, why should I feel shame about this? There's no legitimacy to that, and yet the imbalance that they're feeling as a result of how much they're relying on their fantasies to kind of help them get through a tough spot. There's a lot of dream energy happening as well, and like I said, those meaningful types of dreams. That's just the current energy. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what else is happening with this, what else you need to know, because like I said, we've noticed a significant uptick in that dream energy, in that fantasy energy, to the point where when I mentioned it yesterday, I think everybody who clicked on that darn thing emailed me and said, oh my gosh, what is the deal? And I had even said that, yeah, we definitely need to get in and do this reading. It is really strong. It's and for the Ten of Cups to come out first thing, and then the Nine of Swords in the reverse, both of them are extremely confirming that it feels like that sort of energy, you know. Let's see here. So we've got the Ace of Swords. There's the truth. There's that truth that that keeps coming out. What else do we have? We have the Chariot, fear of moving forward. Do we need another one? Yes. Okay. Eight of Wands, but moving forward. All right. So the Eight of Wands is like that. If that isn't the most communicative Eight of Wands I may ever have seen. So this is something where, but the truth is going to be what gets in the way of that. So there's an intense and strong desire to communicate, which is what is drawing up some of these fantasies and causing some of the dreams. It's like they can't make themselves do it, or they can't allow themselves to do it in the 3D, and so they're like forcing it in some other way, because you can't really force it more in the energetic realm. It's just sort of happened already, but they don't feel like they're getting, and this is something you may have in common, they're not getting enough satisfaction from that union that is occurring in the 5D. Okay, from the 3D standpoint, they're like, that's not good enough, there needs to be something else. And yet they are really, they're just reluctant to reach out in a lot of cases, or they're able to reach out, but it takes the pressure off, and then they reblock, or it takes the pressure off and then they re-ghost, they re-disappear, but they won't go completely far away. So they'll friend you on social media, talk to you, ghost out, but not unfriend you, or something like that. You know, I mean, there's a feeling of them not wanting to go away. The communication urge is super strong. One thing I will say about this one is, if you look at this horse is of two heads, and those heads are pointing in opposite directions or different directions. That's very much how this person is feeling. Like they can't help but move. And we see that with this energy here, but they can't figure out what to do. There's that decision that they just aren't able to truly make. And we keep seeing that coming out in the reading. Saw that coming out yesterday as well. So the Ace of Swords, again, saw this yesterday in multiple contexts. It is, and it came out in every single personal reading that I did. The Ace of Swords is heavy again, but we've seen a lot of this one in the past anyway. With this though, it's what's getting in the way. They have a hard time accommodating that truth while at the same time being able to move forward in a way that is meaningful, that is very 3D. It has to be 3D. It has to be something that they can see and feel. And the closest that they're able to get is honestly fantasy and dreams. So the uptick in the energy is kind of this desperation in the energy. It is an unstable energy, meaning that it can't stay the way that it is. Something's got to give somewhere in here. So that's a great answer as to what's happening with this energy. Like, why do we suddenly have this huge uptick? We've noticed like an uptick in the overall emotion. Yesterday we had a card come out that suggested we actually had, okay, none of this, both of those. We had cards that came out that said, like, we had the King of Cups come out in the energy that for the energetic and emotional backdrop, which was saying basically they have some capacity for emotion here where they have not historically. And that is one heck of a change to our energetic backdrop. So we knew this was coming, but it's now. They have that now, but it is really uncomfortable and kind of murky. So with the Knight of Cups, though, this is that. I'm going to put it with the Eight of Wands. I should have just left it over here. So we have the Knight of Cups is that here I come. There's something. This is the energy of coming your direction. Now, keep in mind, it's very much tempered by the truth and their reaction to it. The reaction to it mostly being captured here in the Chariot. They're like, I don't know what to do. But they're so different directions that they're not making any progress anywhere, and that's part of why they have that hard edge to those fantasies, and why when they wake up from the dreams it colors their whole day and hits them a little harder. So if that's happening to you, just understand they're having a similar type of experience. The Four of Pentacles here says there's something that they have to be able to get rid of, release, allow to go. They have to be able to allow something to go in order for there to be satisfaction in this situation. And they recognize this. That's part of the truth that you see there that's getting in the way of decent communication in a lot of cases, or consistent communication, or in a lot of cases, any communication. The ones who have figured out how to not communicate are in the most stable behavioral situations. Once they start communicating with you, stuff starts to go haywire because they're not ready for it, and they end up reblocking or acting crazy. In some cases they get mean and weird, and whatever happens when they're cornered, most of them just bail. Okay, so we've got this Hanged Man that insists on coming out in the reverse in basically every reading that I do, also for the last 24 hours, and it showed up in both the YouTube and the extended readings yesterday. The extended readings have, and I think you guys, a couple of you have mentioned it, they have gotten a little intense lately. I mean, there's nothing strange about them that I'm doing. It's just, it feels like what's coming through is a little different than what we sometimes have, I guess. So we've got a lot of intensity in the situation, though, and I think that might be what's bringing it about. This was supposed to be a time of rest for us in September to a certain degree. If you look at the astrology of it, there is some opportunity for things to, okay, let's allow things to sort of glide into place. But it doesn't feel like that's really what's happening. It feels like there's a lot of emotional strife still not being sure exactly which direction to go. Falling back on the fantasies and the dreams is just, that's heavy in this energy. For the Ten of Cups to come out in both decks in the reverse and to feel like that, it's a very dreamy energy. It is a very unrealistic energy, but no one has a bunch of illusions about that. So they're spending too much time in fantasy land, but the nature of they're not convinced that it's happening or anything. It's not like that. It's a way for them to spend some time, blow off a little bit of steam in a way that they're not allowed to do it in real life. For the most part, it's pretty, it has minimal negative impact, except that they're leveraging it too heavily. It is though. There's an element of them like they have to do something. We see that with this chariot, this bursting energy. It started coming out yesterday. Like something is going to get to a capacity where they cannot handle it anymore. However, keep in mind that their actual capacity for this type of energy is increasing. So we've got the high priestess that fell out there. I just want to see if anything else wanted to come out in that particular shuffle. But we've got the high priestess that's come out here, and this is talking about that connection to the higher self. So it's the connection to the higher self, but it's also the desire for that connection and the comfort in that connection. So this is part of what's happening in the dreams and the fantasies, because there's so much connectedness between your dream energy. Both of you were sitting there wondering if you're having the same dreams. And it's just, they're incredibly, it's meaningful, fortuitous, sort of auspicious kind of energy coming in with these dreams where it's like, listen, I just went to sleep. I was minding my own business. And then here came this thing, and suddenly I just can't get through my day without thinking about it constantly, and it's got an intense sort of energy to it. I'm trying to get the cards to be straight because I know sometimes it drives people crazy, but I think it might drive me crazy more to keep doing that. So the Six of Cups, though, there's a sense of these dreams are jogging some memories that maybe haven't resurfaced or haven't surfaced in a while. Not necessarily even particularly meaningful, but they're these snapshots that your minds have taken during interactions in the past that just are coming up for you. They're thinking about times when they wish they would have done things differently with the sun in reverse here. That's the air of the missed opportunity once again, and they're feeling it. They're feeling a lot of nostalgia energy, and I wish I could go back. I wish I could make things better. There is the energy of a really just honest, direct conversation. I'm not sure if it's with you or between the two of you. Maybe it's you and someone else, and it doesn't involve your person at all, but it's just a very honest, direct conversation where someone is saying, I made a mistake and I want to make it right. This is good energy for that, but that fantasy energy sort of allows you to build the script so it can play out appropriately. So if you've got somebody, and this is not in any way related to necessarily a romantic thing, but if you've got somebody that you need to apologize to, this is a great time to dream up the way you want to do it and make it happen. Not an easy time to do it, like it never is, but it's still, this is a great time to make that happen, and you actually would have the capacity to move forward. So would they. That's what that Eight of Wands is. This is shared energy. So, I'm looking at why are all of these dreams happening? It's a very shared overall kind of energy. So I think a lot of people are feeling it. Now, there's a sense of, we've seen this coming up, a sense of that guilt. Not just the guilt over here about, I feel ashamed about this, but also the feeling of, I feel like I should have done more in that relationship. So as they have the memories, as they have the nostalgia, they start to remember the missed opportunities, and that's just kind of what's coming up there. Makes them their own worst enemy. This Wheel of Fortune coming up in the reverse again means that feeling of getting in their own way. And then the Four of Cups, something about the reality coming back of what they can't seem to get rid of. They can't seem to, and I'll move this up so that you guys can hopefully, I know it's probably hard to see these cards anyway, but I want, if at all possible, for the words on the cards to at least be on the screen. So if you need to take a screenshot, then it actually shows you all the detail. So they've got something they need to let go of. Feels like that third party is coming up again in these readings. Again, I think we might have to do a third party impact because I feel like there's something that's shifting there as well. Maybe that's something that we've got coming up in the next couple of days. But this feeling of the Wheel of Fortune being a resistance to change that ends up being them providing so much resistance to moving forward in some way. It's like the Tower in reverse. Yesterday, at one point, the Wheel of Fortune and the Tower, I'm pretty sure, came out together, both in the reverse, like, nope, I just won't go. But it's also them being incredibly resistant in a way that is not beneficial to them. So instead, they are reduced to using these fantasies because they refuse to move forward in a productive way. because they can't. It's not just a refusal, like I just am not going to be a reasonable person. There are fears in them that are rising up and preventing that from being possible. The Six of Pentacles is chief among those. They're afraid that you're going to realize how weak their game was previously, and how much of a missed opportunity this was, because every time they realize it, it feels worse, you know. And so there's a lot of guilt in there, quite frankly, for that, and just kind of a knowing that things didn't go the way that it feels awkward to come back and make that apology that I have basically suggested that you go do, because it's a great time for it. But I mean, that's if you have somebody to apologize to. You might not. You might have already kind of addressed things as you went. If you're able to apologize as you go, then you don't have these situations where you got to go find somebody and be like, oh, I made a mistake and now I have to find you and tell you about it. And it's been a while, and you know, but it's also better than not doing it. So that's a message that's coming out. Take it or leave it. It may not be for everybody. Yeah, feels like it's for pretty much everybody, but it's one of those ones that I'm not here to preach. I'm just here to tell you what comes out. But let's see what comes out. Let's see what comes out for you in the you portion of this reading. We do a you portion of every reading, and the question is, based on what's on this table here, what do you need to know? What is the healing for you? What are the lessons? What is your focus? And then, of course, I like to take a little bit of the you reading into the extended. We'll be doing a little bit more of looking into what's happening with this dreamy energy, and maybe even understand a little bit of the nature of those. Like, what does it mean? It's going to be something different in everybody's situation, but maybe some overarching, what does it mean sort of answers. Now that we know what's causing it, let's see if there's any more information in there for you. So, all right, Three of Pentacles in the reverse. Doesn't know, things are not always going to go your way, but I don't get the sense that's a problem. That's like the significance of this, the magnitude of this is you get into a lane of traffic and then that lane slows down. Like, it's super irritating. It feels like things are not going your way, but it does not feel in any way personal. Oh, let's see what we got here. Spirit of Pentacles. Sweet. All right, so this is the energy of, this is why the Three of Pentacles, the little stuff doesn't bother you, because there's something a lot more. Here's what it is. I should have just looked over to my left. There's something about you that has really caused you to grow. Your person is experiencing a little bit of this. We've seen that in the last couple of days. It comes up over here with this one of the benefits of dream energy is it helps to bring you a little closer. It's the iceberg again, you know, where and I just talked about it yesterday, posted the picture, but it's the iceberg where you have the consciousness on top. The portion beneath is the element of what you would reach out to or begin to reach out to with the High Priestess. It's your higher self. That's the portion that lies beneath the surface. It's a little harder for you to access, but it's the easiest part of the overall system for you to access. Outside of the iceberg, you've got the water that it floats in, and that's what more would be like the higher power. And so that's this, through the High Priestess energy, is still how you would get to it. It's still going into your prayer, into your meditation, and you're accessing your intuition, your higher self, your higher power. And also with that comes perhaps coincidentally a need or lack of a need to know. You stop needing to know the details anymore. And you start being able to trust. And so it's one of the reasons we don't do a lot of prediction on this channel. You know, it's more, prediction is is more the realm of trying to control the outcome or understand the outcome so that you can control, and that's got that element to it. But this is more of a allowing the situation to unfold in a way that you're able to manifest, but you're not, you don't know what's coming, but you do trust it. And with the Spirit of Pentacles, that is heavy on the trust. And it's like, that is, again, what allows you to deal with the little minor inconveniences, because you know everything's going to be fine. This is a feeling of peace. I mean, that's your focus. Focus on peace. some of these dreams might be bringing peace. I definitely can think of a couple of the dream stories that you guys wrote to me. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not all caught up, but I'm getting through the letters. There are some of you who have mentioned with the dream piece that the dreams have been very satisfying in that you've gotten something accomplished, and I know it didn't happen. Like when you wake up, it wasn't really a conversation you got to have. But it also kind of had that feeling to it, like maybe it was. With the King of Swords, or maybe it helps to bring about that energy and that understanding. With the King of Swords in the reverse, it's going to be extra hard for you to look at the big picture and come up with meaningful solutions at this time. Hang in there. That is temporary blindness or temporary difficulty seeing, and it's going to pass. It's not. It's ironic, perhaps, that it would be difficulty seeing big picture when you've got a dreamy and fantasy sort of energy going on, but it's just not the right kind of dreamy and fantasy energy going on. What is happening with this Nine of Pentacles? So it's a sideways Nine of Pentacles, and the Empress in reverse. So again, we're glad that you have this level of trust because there is still development that you need to take, things that you need to allow to come to you. And with it coming with this High Priestess, the energy is supportive for it coming to you right now. The lessons are coming to you. Just you got to be asking for them. You got to be praying for those. You've got to be meditating and asking for messages from that higher self. That's where it all comes through. And of course, I'm paraphrasing many different belief systems when I say that, but you have to see how it applies for yours. Definitely not trying to, and I've said this, I think I might have even said it in yesterday's extended reading, it's more trying to have inclusive language, but the concept, think about it from a conceptual standpoint. The Nine of Pentacles being sideways though, so this has elements of you having it together, which comes from that Spirit of Pentacles. But then it's just like a recognition that sometimes you're not going to have it together, and you're also okay with this on some level, that things are not always going to be neat and tidy. They're not always going to be all figured out, but it is useful to just be aware of this about yourself. So this is like a lack of a reliance upon rigor almost. That's developing in you. You're growing in some way that requires you to not need the same types of rigor around you, and not to value rigidity in those same ways. So we've got the Hierophant coming out here in the reverse. Still a message for you. You've gotten this one a couple times. There's a message for you where it's like you've got to somebody's taking a message for you. You need to go ahead and play it. There's something that is wanting to get to you, that you have the openness to it on multiple levels, but you've got to allow it to happen and to go in and ask for it. So this might be a good day to meditate and ask for those messages as well. We've got the Six of Wands in the upright. It's actually a great day for it. That's basically what that message is. Your connection is pretty solid. You're getting really good reception right now. Your Two of Pentacles, though, I love this. This is you basically being able to remain balanced and eyes wide open. It's like a lucid sort of dream. I'd be curious to learn a little bit more about what's happening with you when we get into the extended as well. I know we're not done here yet, but I think I keep getting the feeling of your decisions feeling like a lucid dream. Going through your day almost feels like a lucid dream. I don't get the sense that you are spending too much time focused on fantasy, although I do get the sense that you're having some. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The only problem is if, like, your person is experiencing, if you get a little bit too reliant upon it because you're using it as your outlet in that direction. I swear I feel like there's another card that wants to come out. Yep, we've got the Three of Swords. So allow yourself to feel feelings as they come through for you today, this week, in the upcoming week. It seems like there's a lot of resolution that wants to happen for you. And so you are very much encouraged to allow for that resolution. I still feel like there's another card that wants to come out here. And we have the Lover's card. So be watching for that bond. Watch for it to turn up in your dreams just as something that's pleasant, even if it's not something that's happening in the 3D. Take advantage of it for your own pleasure benefit, but don't necessarily hang your hat on it too much. Your person is having a lot of, it's like, it reminds me of radio static, and you're having like this clear reception. I just mentioned clear reception, and I'm feeling like radio static for your person, and that's what's happening with all of the fantasies and everything. Let's get a better feel for kind of what is driving this sudden grind and their ability to manage it all, and maybe get a feel for what the fantasies are to a certain degree. High level, obviously we can't get into everybody's. And then I will also, of course, dig deeper into you and what's happening with you. And this is a pretty fabulous energy. Let's see how you can capitalize on that. Hopefully, if you're interested, go ahead and scroll down, and the link will be in the description below the video. But if I don't see you there, then hopefully I will see you again tomorrow.